Hi, my name is Rebecca Victoria and I am a professional fine artist, and welcome to my studio today. Today I am going to show you the process of creating my studio space to be the most magical, perfect studio space that I could ever imagine. There's something really special about stepping into a space that was created just for you, by you, and that feels just like you and your energy. This space just creatively flows so effortlessly, and every detail feels intentional, and it feels like for me that within this space that inspiration is just always within reach. That's exactly the intention that I had in the beginning when we started renovating the space, and I wanted to take you along the journey of how this space evolved from the original space that I started creating and then into the space that it has become today. And this is a little video that I've created about this studio renovation, so I hope you enjoy it. This space was something that we marked out it was going to be my studio when we bought the house in the beginning. So we always knew it was going to be here, but we weren't always ready to do the work on it. It was just insulation, and then it had like plastic sheet over it. And so in the beginning we put up these bed sheets. Actually, I went to Walmart and I bought just white bed sheets, and we measured out the space and figured out what we needed. And I put them up, and then I slowly kind of started mapping out or mocking up the space of how I wanted it to be. And I was really happy with how it kind of evolved. I had different things on the walls. So I had the vines that I have now. I had already put them up on the fabric. I just pinned them to the fabric. Actually, I think I'd sewn them onto the fabric. And then I had already bought a bunch of plants that I knew I wanted in the space, and I'd already created my board that I put my oil paints on, that I painted the arch on. It wasn't exactly how I wanted it, but it was really a state of evolving into what I wanted it to be. It was a way I figured out what I wanted, and I was so grateful. I still am so grateful for this space. I'm so lucky to live in a house that we have such an abundance of space, and I honestly, every morning I walk down into this studio, I thank my lucky stars, because I know that I am the luckiest artist in the world to have such a space that is so large and so perfectly me, and it's in the perfect location for me in my basement. And we have a walkout basement, so we have a full window, which is amazing. And I was able to slowly create this space while being at home with my kids. And I will forever be grateful that I have had this opportunity with my kids and with my art. Sometimes I really just need to take a very intentional moment to reflect and really be appreciative of everything that I have. But I did have to be constantly on. As you can see in here that I have the baby monitor there because my son was sleeping, so I was just slowly taking everything down. I would do it only when he was napping, and now I have a bit more flexibility in time because he is in daycare some of the week, and my daughter too, so we have more flexibility in time and I can get a little more done, which is wonderful. So I was slowly taking everything down. I'd already figured out how I liked it so that we could start figuring out what we wanted the space to look like. I really wanted to explore how our environments shape our creativity, whether it's in your home studio or like a little corner of your room or sitting at your kitchen table. Even just like the energy of the places we're surrounding ourselves with really matters, and our spaces really have the power to either nurture or shift or really stifle even our creative spirit. So it's very important to create a space to be creative in very intentionally. And before this renovation, my studio functioned very well, but it didn't quite feel like me in a lot of ways. The layout definitely wasn't the most efficient, and I had a lot of elements that I loved, like the vines behind my easel. There was definitely something missing. I had found myself feeling a bit limited and uninspired. So it was nice to really do a full refresh when we were doing this renovation. A lot of the elements actually are the same. They're just positioned into the space very differently. And I was able to change the layout quite dramatically, and I feel like I've been able to give myself so much more space. A lot of the insulation got pulled out to get the electrical done, and once we had that done, my husband worked on the drywall very tirelessly. I had bookcases that I was using for my wall, and I really loved the way that they worked. I still am using them to this day, and it was great because it offered both storage and a very clear definition between the spaces of my kids' area and my area. And I changed the arrangement slightly. So I originally had the door being in the center of the space, and I moved it over to one side. I had two like half side walls that I could put my desk on one, and the other one I had just storage on, but it wasn't really working. So I decided to move it over to one side, and then I was able to put my desk and the table that I had a lot of storage under all together, and that worked so much better. And then I slowly started moving things back in and figuring out where I wanted things to go. I moved my oil paint storage pegboard thing over to a different wall, thinking that it would allow me to have more space to hang my work, which it has done so. And I slowly started to get to work to put the vines back up and slowly put my palettes back on the wall. I ended up putting them on a smaller wall so that again I had more space to put up my artwork so that I could look at it and reflect on it and see what needed to change. So these creative environments, they really aren't just holding my supplies, they're holding so much energy. My space now feels a lot less chaotic, a lot less scattered, and I find that a lot more inspiring, and it helps me start with my artwork a lot easier because I'm happy with every facet of this room now, that it makes it easier to just get into the space and get working quickly. With the help of my husband, we really transformed this space. We added like the outlets and then the drywall, and we were able to create such a more functional foundation by doing that. And then we were able to make sure that the space worked for me so I could put the outlets exactly where I wanted, and it was working for me rather than against me. So that's like before I had to run leads across the room, and I ran them under my carpet so that my kids couldn't get to them, and it's just so much more functional now. And the fun part of rearranging everything and trying to make it work, I definitely went backwards and forwards on a few things, like where to put my easel and things like that. But that's the amazing thing about this space, is you can always move it around. I can always recreate it, change it, and make it feel just like me if things change. Because ultimately, well, for the most part, it is white walls and everything really is just movable. So I love that about this space. I could always recreate it in any other variation that I wanted to. So having that flexibility has really opened my mind up to any possibilities. The only wall that isn't white is actually the wall that's right behind me, and on this wall I've been able to introduce some new layers of depth. I was really inspired by terrazzo pattern, and I really loved the irregular dots, so I added these to this wall to kind of bring this area to life. I felt like it was really flat and dull and just lacking personality before that. The other thing was, in this area, I found the couch was just way too bold with this cover on, and it was just vibrant and jumping out too much. So I really needed to switch it out with a more flat and muted, just single color, and I chose a light green, and I think it works really, really well in this space actually. Slowly but surely, the studio has come to life over the past year, and drum roll, this is the final studio. And I am so happy with how it came up. It really feels intentional, and it feels important, and it feels very me. I've handpicked every little detail and made sure that everything has looked perfect and felt exactly the way I wanted it to. I added some drapery and some like fairy lights to the ceiling because I didn't want to put drywall or drop ceiling in right now. So I really wanted to come up with a really creative way to do so. And this is what I came up with. I actually got the idea from when we were doing research for our wedding, and I knew I wanted to use it somehow, but I never really figured out how until now. One day I also came across this beautiful poem by Rupi Kaur, and it came to me in the perfect time. I actually stumbled upon it on her Instagram, and it reads, "There are seasons we shine, we glow certain months. Then there are seasons the cold knocks us to our knees, and we wonder why life hurts so much. It takes wisdom to stay down. It takes guts to decompose, to wither, to cry out all our color. And then, when we've reached the end of our end, once everything past is shed, the dirt will rise us. Little by little, the earth will feed us until our spines thicken. And like the spring before, we will rise. Faces full of color, hearts full of joy, we will stand, soaking in the heat of the summer in no time, forgetting that the winter ever came." And I found it, and it really spoke to me about the more difficult months that I've been through in this past year, and how this studio space has really evolved over time, and it is just coming into summertime now, and I feel like the studio and myself are both coming into summer and into blooming together, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful feeling, and I feel so grateful that I am able to do any of this. I realized through this process that creativity really flourishes in spaces that feel personal, and it's not about following trends or making a space look like this perfect aesthetic for the sake of it. It's really about crafting this environment that really supports how you feel and how you want to feel and how you want to create, and a space that motivates you. And some artists thrive in minimalism, in a clean spaces or muted tones, and others, like me, find more comfort in layers and color and warmth and creativity and difference. But there's no right or wrong way. It's just about what makes you feel like you and what you feel like you need. This renovation really has been more than just a physical transformation. I feel like it's been such an emotional one. I've never had a space where I could just experiment in the way that I did in this one, and I wasn't afraid if something went wrong. I just tried it anyway. I just put bold things down, and I surrounded myself with things that just make me happy and make me feel alive and make me feel inspired. And for me, I think that's what makes this studio just feel so special and feel so full of energy. It just feels like I am a part of this studio. My soul is a part of this studio, and I think that that's because I took time and intention to just let it percolate slowly on its own and really turn into the space that it needed to be, and even more so the space that it deserved to be. I have just really enjoyed the process of this. I think I enjoyed the process much more than I realized. Just turning this little space into my creative jungle has been so much fun. I've been doing so much planting, and I've been painting things, and I feel like my artwork has really evolved along the process of creating the studio space. I feel like there's been so many shifts in my life since doing this. 1, the studio space has changed. 2, I think my mental health has really become a lot better since creating a space that I love like this. 3, I feel like my physical health has really also progressed in a lot of ways. And then number 4, I really think my artwork has really changed and progressed. And I think I owe that all to pushing myself to create a space that feels so authentically, uniquely me, and just being unapologetic and unafraid to be who I want to be how I want to be, and really thrive in that environment. So yeah, I'm just filled with so much gratitude just thinking of the journey I've been on for the last little while and where it is leading me down that little garden path that I've talked about in other videos. I really worked hard on this space. I hope that you enjoyed seeing where I create. I hope that you have a great day. I am sending you so much love. Bye.